Thanks for joining us in here. This is going to be super casual for one simple reason. That is, I know less about this than most of the topics we talk about.
Hey.
And so that's a good opportunity for the three of you to be in here and educate us on what we don't know, which I think is exciting. Um, let's just kick off with introductions. Brooke, you want to start, and then we can go across just who you are, what your tie-in to this topic is, and yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, everyone. My name's Brooke. I go by the alias Mindbender Art. I'm originally an oil painter, and for the past 4 years have been exploring the XR art space. So I create augmented reality enabled oil paintings, VR worlds, tons of collaborations with festivals, musicians, nonprofits, scientists, educational platforms. And I got into the NFT space in November of 2020, and I was part of an XR NFT all women's exhibition here in Alt Space during Miami Art Week, which really was the initial kind of push for me to explore NFTs. And I've been on Clubhouse and have learned so much the past few months that I've really taken this knowledge I've learned and I'm applying it to a new project I'm working on that's turning into a 24,000 community, and 12,000 of which are artists and musicians. And it's turning into a marketplace, but also a physical global art installation, an NFT project, and it's bridging the physical art world, gaming world, and XR art world. So I'm really thinking about this space from a fine art perspective and NFTs as a medium to think of new ways for engaging connection, especially with collectors.
Awesome. Sam?
So I've been doing VR actually starting from the architecture world. I studied architecture and I specialize in BIM or 3D modeling architectural buildings. So I started in 2014. I bought a DK2 and I started making all my architecture projects in VR. Then I'm also an artist. So in 2017-ish, when controllers came out, I started sculpting in VR and went from being a painter for many, many years and dancing and a bunch of other art stuff to just doing digital VR art. And yeah, I worked at startups like Inside VR, which does VR and architecture. Worked in architecture and helped them do VR, and now I work for Vim AEC, and we do AR for architecture, and basically any company that wants to handle giant buildings in VR or AR will like super optimize everything and make it run really smooth. And the other thing too is like curate VR art shows. Like there's a lot of stuff I didn't talk about, but I'm basically obsessed with the digital evolution of the art world. So I curate VR art shows in Montreal, and so I deal with a lot of VR artists, and I'm also a VR artist. So that's kind of me in a nutshell.
Very cool.
Hey, what's up? Can you hear me? I mean, I'm
Yes.
first time in space. It's so funny. Yeah, I'm Vladimir. So basically, I'm an artist and I would say a filmmaker. Like I coming from a background of like video games and computer graphics. For the last 5 years, I've been working on various like VR AR projects, mostly VR films and different like creative experimental VR AR projects. And yeah, lately I just got involved in the NFT space, which is pretty overwhelming. Yeah, also I'm managing a community in Berlin where I'm based called Creative XR. It's like a kind of it was regularly meetups of creative people who do virtual reality and augmented reality. You know, it's like kind of moved to Clubhouse. I did already a couple events about NFTs and VR AR, how like just kind of brainstorming and asking people what they actually do with intersection of these two mediums. Yeah, so that's briefly about me.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm going to kick it off with kind of one topic at the beginning, and that's just that I think it's true in general of anything that goes, let's say, mainstream. There's lots of crossover, and there's lots of different groups that are involved here that are trying to benefit. There's engineers that just want to build more blockchain tech. There's investors that have similar minds. There's press that just want to get the people that aren't in NFTs jealous and clicking on links, and like there's all these different incentives, right? What I want to hear from the three of you is like, what is most meaningful to you as an individual creator about this movement? And Vlad, maybe you want to start here.
Who, me? Yeah, sure. Well, yeah, I mean, the most inspiring thing, like the dream of every artist is like if you could actually do art and, well, do just your art instead of like doing anything else. Because a huge part of basically surviving or like living as an artist is like do side jobs, like you work with clients, or even if it's your own project, you have to find money to fund your project, and it's a longer process. So basically spend like most of your time or like half of your time kind of doing these things. And with NFT, well, the most inspiring thing and what attracts me is basically this dream of like, what if I can actually do just my art and like people would buy it directly, like that I would just skip all the everyone in between, so that would just grow way faster. I mean, that's my inspiration to get in this thing. Yeah.
You got some weird sound coming from you, by the way. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, if I didn't have to work, I would probably just be an artist, right? I went to school for like 10, 12 years, like, no, I'm sorry, 10 years to like get a whole career, but that was just basically to support myself being an artist. And yeah, you see a glimpse of people getting paid. Actually, there was a sale for like $500,000 yesterday from some pretty good artists. Anyways, so yeah, that's definitely a big part of it. I think what's most exciting or relevant for me is that this is just the beginning. Well, it's not just the beginning. We're actually really like the real beginning was like 4 or 5 years ago, very small group of people. But I feel like it's just really the beginning of something, and we are it's kind of like the internet at first, right? It was awkward. When we look at it now, we laugh, and it's not how the language of the internet developed. But like you see all these interesting things happening with NFTs and people playing with the rules and playing with it as kind of a medium. And that's the most interesting thing. It's not what like 90% of the people are doing with NFTs. It's where they're playing with it, and it kind of just gives me a hint of what we're going to see with NFTs in 5-10 years, especially when the environmental concerns are going to be more resolved, and things like user friendliness, where you can't just send $500,000 to a wrong address and it disappears forever, where it's more like, okay, grandma, like send me some Ethereum for Christmas or something, like, so I think it's just really, we're seeing a glimpse of it, and you don't get those technologies often. It's like the internet, VR, AR, NFTs. And so it's like, who knows, maybe 5-10 years before there's another really kind of like breakthrough medium or technology like that affects artists so much.
Yeah, Sam nailed it. This is the next renaissance that we're in. A boom of creativity with this new, or not so new, but now being, widely accepted, thanks to the media and for the top down kind of leaders in the industry, but also the bottom up. So how can artists take this medium and think about it in new ways? And so I'm really excited about the decentralization of blockchain technology being applied to the art world. For example, we can now, as artists, grow with the value appreciation of our artwork, which has not been the case ever before. And so for me, I'm an oil painter, as well as an XR artist. And I am thinking also retroactively about the paintings I've already sold that are in collectors' hands, and actually giving them an NFT, which serves as a certificate of authenticity for that original work of art. And so if a collector, later on decides to sell one of my physical paintings, that NFT would be sold with it. Therefore, I get remunerations from my physical art as well. And I'm also just excited about, for example, performance artists being able to mint their performances and monetize it and have the power back into their hands, or even with musicians and creating, you know, songs, but a lot of the time they have to take into consideration Spotify algorithms. And so now we're going to be witnessing a pure sense of creativity that will come about thanks to putting the power back into the hands of the artists, and that direct one-on-one interaction and engagement between the artists and their collectors. Whereas if I sell a painting at a gallery, I might not ever meet that collector. And now, thanks to social media and this instant connection that's taking place, everyone who's bought one of my NFT works of art, they follow me on Instagram and whatever, and we have conversations. We are a part of each other's lives now, and it's really building this community. And one last thing is, if any of you are on Clubhouse, it's really amazing because we are creating the ethos around this space in real time. And so everyone's actions, everyone's engagement, everyone's collecting is a way that we can actually pave the way for how we want this space to behave. And just to give an example, you guys might be familiar with the electronic musician Blau, and his name is spelled 3LAU. He made an amazing, just revolutionary sale recently, tokenizing his album. And he made $11.8 million from this auctioned off platinum, gold, and silver record albums. And a huge part of his ethos is investing that back into the NFT community, because he realizes that he was where we all are right now. And so it's like recycling this wealth back into the space where actually artists are now becoming collectors. And just the term collecting art can sound exclusive, and NFTs and the blockchain are actually breaking down those barriers where we can all become collectors and grow just art, you know, the community surrounding this.
Are you talking?
You talking? I think you might be
I
muted.
think he's been having audio issues earlier. There was like, oh, there we go.
We can. You sound a little muffled.
Yeah, I think maybe you're
feedback
using the
from
wrong
ourselves.
mic.
All right, I apologize. I'm going to quit and rejoin really quickly.
All right, go ahead. So while Justin's coming back, just to fill the time, we have our Twitch camera behind you guys. I feel like there are probably going to be at least some people who tune in or check out the videos afterwards that are starting from zero. So if you were going to give us kind of like the quick and dirty, like, what are we talking about? Like
Right.
what are these things and how do they work?
Right. So
how would you kind of introduce someone to this world?
I guess you'd probably start talking about just the crypto chain and like what it is and how it's a that's the thing, the first conversation is a decentralized way of authenticating transactions and authenticating ownerships. So instead of saying, you know, the bank knows that I paid this person, is just held on a bunch of different computers that are not owned by a single company. So if half of those computers decide to stop using the network is still going to live beyond the existence of a node, basically. So it kind of makes an infinite, like a system that could theoretically live on forever as long as there's users, and technically can't be corrupted, which means for artists.
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna jump on that and say that I like to think of NFTs, which stand for non-fungible tokens, as a digital asset. So for the first time ever, digital artwork can be collected like a physical fine art painting. And this is opening the entire space and empowering artists who weren't able to monetize their work before. And if you think about fungibility, so think about a US dollar and how you can exchange that for a peso. With a non-fungible token, it's as if you can't exchange a Warhol painting for a Picasso. So it's a unique digital asset that is linked to the cryptocurrency and is attached to the blockchain, which is a digital immutable ledger.
Like an
Can you
guys hear me now?
inventory item
By
to the
chance?
game.
Yep. I'm
Okay,
sorry, like
okay.
what?
It's like an inventory item to the game. So like you have
Yeah,
a
well,
wallet,
that's
it's
one
like your money,
big.
and you also have inventory items, which
Yeah,
you can
that's one
sell.
big use case is inventory and proof of ownership, right? So tickets, inventory, names, VR land, like there's a lot of ownerships, right? In what is it? Not VR chat, but the game people will
Fortnite?
buy like clothing. I'm sorry. Yeah, Fortnite,
Fortnite.
or like there's a whole market for hats in Team Fortress 2. Second Life is what I was thinking about. In Second Life, you can buy property. There's a crazy market for clothing and cosmetics and accessories. And so, I mean, right now it's like there's an environmental cost, so I wouldn't necessarily encourage the creation of thousands and thousands and thousands of NFTs. But when that gets resolved, that concept, we should be aware of it and be prepared to start using it. Like, it wouldn't be crazy for an artist to just literally release their album as NFTs, to say, yeah, I'm going to make 20,000 NFTs once the environmental things are resolved. For right now, I think it's kind of safer ethically to just say, make as few as possible and as few transactions as possible.
Yeah, that's great. Sorry about the mic issues. I was
worries.
able to keep following along though. And I think where I see we're at right now is a couple things. One is I think we're all on the bandwagon. Like I think we all understand what the party line is behind this stuff. And I think, in the crowd too, we're gonna have a lot of good opinions when we break out. So what I want to do is get to breakouts as quick as possible, but first frame it by asking you three sort of cynical outsider's perspective questions. Okay. The first is one of the design philosophies about VR I'm most attached to is reducing scarcity. I think like being able to take assets and make them available to as many people as possible for as cheap as possible is sort of one of the main design objectives of building out this metaverse. My first question to you, and I don't have an opinion on this. This is really an open question, but the first question is there a concern that reintroducing some of this scarcity is maybe at odds with the goal of VR in terms of, do you see people that are going to mint NFTs? Are they less likely to post a free version on Instagram? Is that art now going to be less circulated, or is the opposite true?
Well, I kind of want to propose a solution to that through my own art and through the artists that I work with, and just through telling people that this is a potential solution. So yeah, there's very much these two opposing goals, right? Then there's a friction between them. I make VR art, I make VR architecture, VR sculptures, and I'm hoping that they're transformative, and I know they're transformative from doing VR demos, and I want everybody that is interested to do it for free. And at the same time, there's the dream of, hey, what if I didn't have to do 9 to 5, or what if I could have a nice extra income on the side where I can push some of my dreams further, etc. So what I'm going to do, like, let's say I was going to there's also the whole question of how the heck do you sell VR art, which has always been a problem that I've been interested in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, here's one expensive NFT token that basically pays for my worth, and in my case, the gallery's worth, because I'm represented by a gallery as well. So I split 50-50. But so here's one NFT that represents like what I'm happy to make with this VR art world. And if somebody buys it, I will offer optional exclusivity from, like, let's say 1 to 6 months to the buyer. But after that exclusivity, or if they choose not to take it, the piece gets released to the public for free. And so I think that really it's very utopian, and it may just not work. People may not be interested. It's more like a patronage thing than for like people who want to flip an asset. And so yeah, it's just kind of like I'm hoping that it takes it from it just kind of tries to resolve that tension between these opposing but like complementary goals.
I love what you said, and that concept of the NFT serving as a form of patronage to unlock this experience to everyone else. And that's the thing about NFTs is it proves direct ownership. And so a lot of people just want the bragging rights that they own this experience. And, you know, to have people come and be able to enjoy it as well can actually add to that value.
It's like a
And
badge of
so,
honor.
yeah, exactly. And so I just really love that. And for me, it's been so tricky in the VR realm because I create these beautiful VR paintings and augmented reality experiences. And I just didn't know how to monetize it. And so I would just give it away for free, which is great. But at the same time, it like caused me to have to do other forms of collaborations in this space in order to make, you know, additional funds. And it took away from my personal creativity. And so being able to monetize through, you know, NFTs is actually, I think, going to expand the amount of work that artists are producing if they're able to make a better living out of it. So greater access in that regard.
Anything
Vlad,
you want to
did
add
you
to
have
that,
anything?
Vlad? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what I think about it is like, let's say if we would compare it to music, like you can, well, there is someone owns the track. Let's say if it's like on, and if, like as an if you sell it as an NFT, everyone can listen to it, but just one person owns it. And I think it could be done the same with the VR experiences. Like they could be public, and everyone knows who owns the piece, and you can even like emphasize it just by put this like a shiny name of the owner inside the piece. Like, so I think it not necessarily should be like that. If someone owns the piece, they just hide it in the closet and no one sees it. Like I don't know, like if many people would be actually interested in that. I don't know, but not necessarily. Like with music, for example, it just doesn't make much sense to, well, to kind of buy a track and then no one can listen to it. Although
Yeah,
there are still people doing that, but I don't think, yeah, I don't think
And
majority of
to
collectors would be interested in like have it and that no one can actually see it.
and
Yeah.
artists still maintain the copyright. And so
Yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
is also, I think, a good point to mention.
That's a big misunderstanding, actually. Like that, if you sell the ownership, you actually you still keep the copyright, so you can actually still make money with, yeah, with the copyright.
yeah,
Right.
Yeah, it's
people.
almost more like you're selling your signature on that piece than the actual IP of the piece.
Well, all you're saying is, I will not make another NFT that is the same. It's like I can make a painting, then make a print, then make a book, then put it in the museum, and somebody can own the NFT, and it's completely. These are completely separate things, and they have no relationship with each other. And generally, actually, most websites will differ in the ownership thing. Like the owners will usually have the rights to show it in like a digital museum or to show it in like on Instagram, social media, and obviously to show it in their wallet, but they can't monetize it. And even I think some terms and conditions will say like you need to have the permission of the artist, and obviously it normally makes sense for the artist to allow it to happen because it raises their notoriety.
Sure. And I mean, you know, the favorable interpretation, the pro NFT interpretation that I can totally understand is that the high ticket prices or even just being associated with these collectors can make the piece more valuable and more desirable to be viewed in other formats, whether that's, you know, the non-NFT version or a free version or whatever. Like the example that just randomly comes to my mind is like, you know, the Mona Lisa for 20 years was hanging in Napoleon's bedroom. He was the only one that got to see it. And now it's in the Louvre, which is also very exclusive. But people are looking at that piece of art constantly. I think, you know, those associations with Napoleon and the Louvre and those things legitimized it more than anything. And now people are, you know, seeing copies of it everywhere.
Yeah, I
Okay,
mean, if I could own an NFT that's
Yeah,
been
yeah,
owned
go
by
ahead.
Napoleon, it would have a huge value.
right,
But,
right.
Yeah, and what's also pretty interesting is the fluidity of these marketplaces versus in the physical realm. And thinking about, like if I have a physical painting and that, on the secondary market, how many hands will that painting actually pass through? But in the NFT realm and through people's crypto wallets, there's actually much more fluidity for transactions to be made and artwork to be bought, sold, and traded. And, I think that is fascinating to think about the two separate trajectories of the physical art world and where that painting may end up versus your NFTs, and seeing how they have different lives and different experiences through different collectors.
Sure, for sure. Okay, I think it would be fun to break out because there's so many of us here. The question I'll kind of segue into that I think we can chat about as we get into our groups. What are the best opportunities for NFTs to be used in the XR space specifically? And the cynical, skeptical framing I'll again give to that is, my sort of view about the best way to build a project in one of these spaces is to innovate on as few axes as possible. Like the smallest number of things that you can do to be different and focus on and do really well, I think tends to be a more successful approach. So when I hear VR and NFT, my first red flag is, oh, you're trying to do two hard things at once. So my thought is, let's talk about what are the best uses of NFTs in VR, and if that's not true, let's find out why.
well, you're going to have the typical scenarios like tickets and collectibles and all of that stuff. I'm already good with VR, so it's not really a problem. And so yeah, I'm hoping that people do that, right? They sell a whole game, or they sell they can sell a VR world or a VR game and just use a similar system where somebody pays for it and it becomes free. Or you could say I'm going to put 10 NFTs, and then once the 10 of them are sold, I release my game and the NFTs are therefore cheaper, etc. Once again, I'm really trying to minimize the amount of NFTs I do, like 3-5 a year kind of thing max, until the environmental thing is solved. But in the future, it's going to have a lot more flexibility because you won't have that ethical responsibility to not engage with it too much.
Yeah, for sure.
But guys, I mean, I'm just watching the so-called Gas Now website, and you can also install that into your browser. It's quite nice because it shows you those gas prices. I hope everyone knows what that is. It's a fee that you have to pay when you want to mint thing, and they're constantly rising and rising. So in the end, isn't this a dead end? Because probably if it's going on this pace in the next 2 months or whatever, minting will cost $500 or more. So
yeah,
again,
well, there's more than one
for
coin.
artists,
This is happening for the Ethereum chain right now because of the popularity. And I'm not sure if you've heard of Ethereum 2.0, but it's going to apparently raise efficiency by 98%, as well as no longer require mining, or at least reduce that drastically. So when they change to the Ethereum 2.0, it's going to change a lot of things. Or, some other NFTs use like Tesos, which are marked as green NFTs and more efficient. And also Tesos are $3 instead of $18,000. And so, if you use a different blockchain, there's more than one blockchain or coin. And so you're talking about Ethereum right now with NFTs, but there's Tezos with NFTs. I'm sorry?
By a wide range of people.
That's right. And the issues you bring up, they're very aware of them. They're working on them right now. And there's radical change coming along those lines.
And I'm looking into, because I'm building out an NFT marketplace for this project I'm working on, and I'm planning to use Wax protocol, and there are no gas fees, and so it's just another technology, and so there's other options out there. It's just Ethereum blockchain is the most widespread, and miners are competing, and that's why these prices are so high, because the demand.
There's like a
I'm-
coin, for example, on OpenSea. If you buy any NFT on OpenSea, you have to use a wrapped Ethereum. And I may be wrong about this, but I believe a wrapped Ethereum is kind of a separate coin that keeps the value of Ethereum with less gas fees. So like people know it's a problem. People don't like paying $100 for every transaction. So like we're very aware that it's a problem, and we want to solve it because it's going to hurt the NFT world the longer it stays up.
That's awesome. And let's give these guys a round of applause, and then let's try to split into 3 or 4 groups so that we can have get more of us involved, if that's all right. But yeah, thanks so much for joining us. It's awesome to hear your perspective, and please feel free to stick around as long as you like.
Should we
Thank you
just
for
share, if anyone wants to learn more about our work, where to find us?
Yeah. Should we go around real quick and tell us what's the
Cool.
best place to find you at?
Yeah. Vlad, do you want to go first?
Yeah, okay. I'm on Instagram, Vladimir Storm, Vlad Storm. Yeah, pretty simple. On Twitter, the same. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm on Twitter, Sam__AB.
And on Instagram, I'm mindbender.art.
Beautiful. Well, let's all go check them out for sure and show a little bit of love and a follow. And thanks for all your wisdom.
Thanks for the invite.
Thanks for having us. This has been great.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, thank you
And
very much.
by the way, just real quick and tell everyone before everyone breaks up, next week we're going to be distributing early versions of our native app. Those of you who have been coming since the beginning know that we've been working on building our own sort of a business metaverse for startups here. And we're real close to launching that. If you go to spatialape.com and make an account, you will get an email with an option to join the beta in the coming days. And besides that, we'll continue to be in here on Thursday. So if you don't know what to do, you can always find us in here for the next few weeks.
Dig your outfit. I think we're matching.
Yeah.
Pigtails and overalls. I think that's what I'm wearing.